Good morning, everyone. Do you see how sunny it is? It's wonderful. We have sunshine. We have not had sunshine in quite a few days, so it's very good to see the sunshine. And this morning, we got a call that one of the elderly ladies from our church was taken by ambulance to the emergency room. And they think that she's going to be okay, but I just thought if you would, you could remember her in prayer. Her name is Dottie, and she's just a lovely lady that truly loves the Lord. So anyways, I will talk to all of you in just a little while, because what I'm going to do is I am going to be making the Thrive Life Simple Plate dinner for my husband. And I thought maybe you'd want to check it out too. Talk to you in a minute. Well, what I decided to make today is called Tuscan-Style Beef, and I believe it's called Pappardelle. And all that we need from our own pantry is 6 cups of water, a half a tablespoon of oil, and a tablespoon of butter. And even the butter is optional. So that's kind of neat, isn't it? So let me show you what that looks like. And this is what came in this box, along with this card that tells you everything that's in your box and what you would need to grab from your own pantry. And then it gives you step-by-step instructions. So yeah, I don't think it can get much easier than this. This is the noodles, this is the garlic, this is the veggie meat mix, the shredded beef, the Italian seasoning, the onion slices, the tomato sauce mix, the Parmesan cheese, and a balsamic glaze. So let's get this started. According to the directions, the first thing we needed to do is bring 6 cups of water to a boil for our pasta. So I went ahead and put the water in my pan here and just waiting for that to come to a boil. It says, meanwhile, measure out 2 3/4 cups of water, and which I did right here. And it says in a large saute pan, add 1/4 tablespoon of either your butter or your oil. So I'm going to use some olive oil, and it says to turn it on to a medium heat. And we're going to saute the garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the garlic. I guess just until we can begin to smell it. I'm definitely beginning to smell that. And it says that we are going to add the water. That was 2 3/4 cups. And whoops, I got a lot of garlic on my thing there. And we're going to add the shredded beef, the vegetable mix, the onion slices, and the Italian seasoning. And bring to a simmer. As you can see, our noodles are boiling nicely, and they'll be done in about 3 minutes. This is simmering, and this has to simmer for about 3 or 4 more minutes, and then I'll bring you back for the next step. Okay, so now I am to add the tomato sauce while stirring, and I'm going to let this simmer for an additional 3 to 4 minutes. My pasta is done, so I'm going to go ahead and drain that, and I'll be right back. Okay, we are to add our drained pasta. And the Parmesan cheese. And a tablespoon of butter, if we desired. And then stir well. And just, it says let this simmer for an additional, I'm going to use a spoon, for an additional minute. The box, the Simple Plate box that I purchased is for 2 people. They also sell it for 4. So I thought I would just go ahead and get out my platter, and I would just put it on there so that you can see it, what it looks like. But it looks and it smells wonderful. And I believe that we're done, so I'm going to turn off my heat. And it says that we are to dish it up and then top it with the balsamic dressing that they provided. Boy, doesn't that look nice. I'm going to put this over here. That way you can see it a little better. But it says to top with the desired amount of this dressing. But that looks wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to put some of this on my husband's plate, and we will see how he likes it. And you have to be honest, okay?
Okay. That's very good.
Is it a do again?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's really good.
Is it?
Good flavor.
Good.
Absolutely.
All right. So now it's my turn. Oh, that is excellent. That is really good. This is absolutely a do again. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to go finish this because, yeah, this is really good. And I'll talk to all of you in a little while. For today's devotion, we will be reading from Romans chapter 14, verse 10. You, then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Or why do you treat them with contempt? For we will all stand before God's judgment seat. Have you ever disagreed with another believer about whether or not something was allowable behavior? Whether Christians may or should not, you fill in the blank. Christians on the may side of disagreements usually argue that certain types of activities are not specifically forbidden in the Bible. Christians on the should not side point to a passage of scripture they believe should settle the dispute, or they contend that the activity is prohibited by a biblical principle. Often these types of disagreements are classified as Roman 14 issues. The term Romans 14 issue comes from Romans chapter 14, which is a key text concerning the subject of Christian freedom and how it should be exercised. And being on the right or wrong side of any particular disagreement is not the main issue. I encourage you to read the entire chapter of Romans 14 for yourself. from what I gather in these passages is that Paul is not addressing the issue of freedom for the primary purpose of ending disagreements between believers. Rather, his aim is to tell us how to treat one another when we continue to disagree. To judge means to be critical of another person. To show contempt means to take no account of or to despise another person. This is how verse 10 reads in the New Living Translation. Why do you condemn another believer? Why do you look down on another believer? Remember, we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. You know, we should never be critical or look down on other Christians, because Paul reminds us we will all stand before the judgment seat of Christ and be judged. Just as we're told in verse 11, as surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow before me, every tongue will acknowledge God. We ought to be more concerned with how our thoughts and our attitudes will be evaluated on that final day than we are on how God will measure the hearts of others. Listen as I continue to read verses 12 and 13 in Romans chapter 14. Yes, each of us will give a personal account to God. So let's stop condemning each other. Decide instead to live in such a way that you will not cause another believer to stumble and fall. And with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And always remember, people need prayer. They don't need your contempt. God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow.